All right, our keynote speaker today is Lindsay Liepman. She is an Emmy Award-winning journalist that grew up in Mexia, Texas, and has spent more than 20 years in TV news. She started her career at KBTX in Bryan College Station, where she graduated from Texas A&M, and then spent a decade in Florida, Massachusetts, and Maine, working at various TV stations. She came back to Texas, thank you for coming back, and worked as an anchor reporter in Austin until she was asked to come back to her hometown market, where she's the evening news anchor for KCEN-TV 6 News. Lindsay has 4 kids and is a newlywed, and also runs the nonprofit based in Mexia called the Cindy Walker Foundation, which promotes the legacy of country music Hall of Fame songwriter Cindy Walker, a trailblazing female in the music industry. Please help me welcome Lindsay Liepman to the stage.
Woo! Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. This is, in fact, my second rodeo. I was the MC at this event in Temple, Texas, and learned so much, and I've already learned so much today. I enjoy hearing from all the panelists. So thank you to all the panelists that have given up their time and their expertise for our small businesses in our communities to learn more. As Brian said, I am from Mexia, Texas. There's not a microphone that I don't love. So thank you for asking me to be your speaker today. In fact, the first microphone that was ever handed to me was at First Baptist Church in Mexia, because I used to sing solos in church, and not because I'm a great singer, but because I was willing to get up on the microphone and do it. But they would start the music and I would still be giving my testimony. And then the pianist would be like, okay, Lindsay, this is where you start singing. And so I realized I really enjoy talking a whole lot more than singing. And I think that you all will be happy that I'm not singing a solo today. Thank you so much for coming out. And I was here in March at our women's event. I want to thank Mike Anderson and everybody with the economic office here in tourism here in Buffalo for asking me to come back. This is a fantastic community. You guys work so hard. Hey, Mike's in the back. I really appreciate you asking me to come back into your community. Because I love to talk, going into broadcast journalism was a great fit for me. I didn't know any news anchors. I didn't know how to do it or how that would work out. But I went to Texas A&M University and started working at KBTX television behind the scenes. Did my internship at KTRK in Houston, a legacy great news station there in Houston, and came back and started my career as a television news reporter. And of course, the industry has changed quite a bit. And so today, I'll be talking a little bit about how you can partner as a small business owner, or maybe you run a nonprofit, whatever it is you do in your community, how you can partner with the local news media, which is beneficial to both the community, to your business, as well as the news station. It was funny because my career ended up taking me all the way up to New England. So this Texas girl spent 10 years outside of Texas. I went to Massachusetts, Florida, as well as Maine. And when I was in Massachusetts, I had this job interview in Boston, of all places. And I go in, the interview is going really great. I'm thinking, yeah, I'm getting this job. And toward the end of the interview, the guy goes, has anybody ever told you you talk funny? And I was like, the Texan in me just came out, and I was like, I talk funny, you talk funny. They have a very distinct accent there in Massachusetts. So I realized I need to come back home where none of us talk funny. It's just the way we talk. I am happy to be back home. I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit on local news media so you really get a sense of how to work with us and hopefully take away maybe a little bit of that mystery. My first question for all of you is, who is watching? Who's watching the news these days? You don't have to raise your hand. I don't want to be embarrassed if most of you are not watching local news these days. Consumption and the way people watch the news has completely changed. When I first grew up here in Central Texas in the 80s and the 90s, you would tune into the local news at 5 and 6 and 10, and it was appointment viewing is what we call it. The news anchors had big hair and big shoulder pads, and they were almost like a part of your family. You felt like you knew them and you felt like you could trust them. That is by design. That is how local news has been built, to be a part of the community and to be a part of the fabric of the community. And then the internet came along and everything changed for us. It would have been out of the question to break a story on the internet as opposed to the 5 o'clock news. But we all had to transition and shift to making sure that we have a website, that we have an app, that now we can stream because people are watching us on their phones. But what we do is still very much the same, which is telling a story. It's important to note, though, that among all the news sources that are out there, network news, local news, and even your social media, it is still local news that is considered the most trusted source for news. I see that every day. We're an NBC affiliate. A lot of people will have opinions about the network, that all of the local stations air on, but they still trust the people that they know are from here or in our community. And that is not something that any of us take lightly. We appreciate that you trust us, and that accountability is very important for local news. Now, this year, 2024, the Pew Research Center reported that the majority of Americans say local media is important to the well-being of their community. In that same study, 7 in 10 U.S. Americans, that's 69%, say that local journalists in their area are mostly in touch with their community, so they feel like we know what's happening. And that's up from 63% in 2018. So it is growing. They feel like community engagement from local journalists is increasing. And most Americans also say their local news organizations are doing a good job at reporting news accurately, covering the most important stories in their area, being transparent, and then keeping an eye on local political leaders. Now, as viewing habits change and shift to digital, so is the local news landscape, as I said, with apps, streaming, our website. All of those are different ways to consume the content that we now create. I think we're now getting more familiar with that word content, which really is what local news is also creating as well. So if a reporter comes to your business to do a story, it doesn't just end up airing at 5, 6, and 10 on broadcast. It ends up also airing on our website, on our social media pages. It'll also be on our streaming app. And that is really good news because that's a lot of coverage and it's hitting a lot of different audiences with how they consume news. But we are still in a tune-in market. Here in the Brazos Valley, as well as in Central Texas, there are a lot of traditional news watchers that still tune in, and we reach just about 260,000 television households here in Central Texas, which is great. But just when you start to think, oh, you're a local celebrity, you're really not. One of my favorite stories is when I was a news reporter in, and if you've heard this story before, just laugh anyway. When I was a news reporter in Bryan College Station, I'd just gotten my job and I thought, okay, this is great. And I'm in Walmart walking around buying some stuff, and I go to the checkout and the guy goes, I know you from somewhere. And I'm thinking, this is awesome. This is the first time I'm being recognized. Like, this is so great. He watches the local news. And he said, don't tell me who you are. Let me just think on it for a minute. And he goes, you're the lady that works at Taco Bell. And I thought, well, I'm not going to crush this guy. I said, yes, that's where I work. And he said, I knew that was you. And I thought one day that guy is going to be watching the news and say, the lady from Taco Bell is now working on a television. But anyways, you never can get too big of a head. And you definitely don't do it for being on TV. And if that's the reason that you do local journalism, then you're in it for the wrong reason anyways. Can anybody answer why, the number one reason why most people watch local news? Just shout it out. What do you think makes people tune in? Weather. Yep, you got it. Local weather. And definitely during a time when we have severe weather, that is when our job is the most important. So of course, we want to make sure that we're changing with the trends so that for some reason, local news doesn't go away. And the more competition in local news, the better. That's for sure. But let's go back to our first question. Who is watching? So I cited some research from that Pew Research Center study from 2024. And that same study found that Americans who feel a strong sense of connection to their community are more likely to engage with local news. So I'll say that again. Americans who feel a strong sense of connection to their community are more likely to be local news watchers. That is really good news for local business owners, because that means, or if you're someone who wants to start a business, that means when you build a relationship with your local media, with those folks that are on television or on newspaper, that you're building a stronger community with the people in your community itself, because those people are more likely to engage with coming out to your coffee shop or becoming one of your customers. And I've seen that over and over. A lot of the small businesses that we will work with or do stories on, they get a positive reaction after they have a story that airs on the news. And that's great to know that you're helping out a local business. So hopefully today I can give you some information that you can use. And I'm going to touch on 3 quick topics. The first one is how to find your story. The local news media loves small businesses for a lot of reasons. The first one is you're accessible. If any of you have ever tried to call customer service to a large corporation and you're on hold and it takes a really long time and you may not even talk to a human, that's what it's like every day for a news reporter that's trying to go out and do a story. But if we're trying to do the story, it may be a big box store and we've got to talk to the corporate PR person at the very top of the food chain that doesn't live anywhere near our community. It's very difficult to get a hold of that person to be able to get access to do the story that we want to do. And that will kill a story right then and there. I want to let you in on a little secret of how the news works. Every news station works this way. There are 2 meetings every single day, in the morning and in the afternoon. And at those meetings is when the news directors, the producers, the reporters all gather around and they pitch ideas for stories. Reporters are required to come in with about 3 story ideas every day. That is really, really hard to do. And it can be very stressful for the reporters. And then they come in, they pitch their ideas. We have a daily planner and we all talk about what we think should be covered that day. So you can imagine that getting assigned a story where you can't get a hold of the person that you're trying to get a hold of would be really stressful and really wouldn't work out for a news reporter. So we love small businesses because if you're accessible to us, we're able to turn that story more efficiently and quickly. It's also surprising to a lot of people that a news reporter during the day on our dayside shift, we'll have about 5 hours total to turn that story tip to tail. That means they've made the phone call, they've set up the interview, they go out, they shoot it usually on their own. They're their own photographer, just depending on the station. Then they get back to the news station, they log it, they write it, they edit it, then they front it at 5 and 6 o'clock. For an evening reporter, it's even quicker. Those meetings happen at 2 o'clock. They got to go out, get it, be live at 5 and 6 possibly, then turn the package for the 10 o'clock news. So there's a lot of deadlines, and having not a whole lot of time means that partnering and having sources with small businesses can help a news reporter be able to tell their story just as well. The biggest mistake that I've seen from local businesses when they're pitching a story to the media is they aren't clear on what kind of stories that we cover or that we care about. We usually will not show up to a ribbon cutting. So if you send us an email or a press release that says, this certain business is going to open up and we're having a ribbon cutting. We often won't show up because we know we can't show up to every ribbon cutting. So it would be a little bit inconsistent to show up to this one and not show up to all of them. However, if you have a great hook, we will show up. And when I say hook, it means what is going to hook the viewer into watching your story. A hook would be, you're going to open up your cupcake shop during the month of October, and you're making pink cupcakes, and you're giving away cupcakes to every breast cancer survivor that comes to your bakery. Then you have a hook. Then you've got a story that a reporter can pitch in the newsroom, and everybody goes, love it. And then the reporter says, and the shop owner is a breast cancer survivor. And they go, great, good, you've got your assignment, head out the door, you're perfect. So that's a good example of what catches our eye and the kind of stories that a reporter or an anchor will fight for. Because what happens is when you as a small business owner are pitching that story to a journalist, they have to fight for your story among all the other journalists in the room and have to explain why it's a good story. So trying to find your story, trying to figure out what makes it unique or would be interesting to the public is how you would pitch it to a journalist. The second thing I want to talk about is how to just tell your own story. I love to talk. I'm not camera shy at all. I enjoy talking to people, but I know not every business owner enjoys that. That's when you can utilize social media. Of course, the cupcake example that I just said, that's a great story that we'd be able to show up and cover, which would not only give positive publicity, but also spread awareness that that business is now open. It can also establish your relationship with that business and that news station or that reporter specifically. If you have a story that you'd like to run on a specific station, like let's say you love that reporter at XYZ, you definitely want to pitch to the individual reporter first. In our emails, we get hundreds of pitches every day. And I have to kind of filter through the ones of the people I don't know. What's that, a PR firm? I'm not real sure who that is. But if I see, oh, Sally, who I did that story on a couple of months ago, she's got another idea for me. And she's coming directly to me, which means I don't have to compete with the other people in my newsroom to pitch it. That is the quickest way to be able to actually get results and end up with your story on television. And it can even be, if you haven't already built a relationship with a news anchor or reporter, it can be a cold reach out. That happens all the time. If you know that a particular news person like myself loves music, and you've got a band that's going to perform somewhere and you think it's an important thing that needs to be on television, reach out to those reporters based on what they like. There's reporters who love kids. There's reporters who love animals. They all have specific things that they like. And if you go to their bio on the website, you'll figure out what they're into. And then you can pitch to that particular person. That goes a long way in making sure that your story is heard. Because if the reporter cares about your story, they'll fight for it and then it'll get on the air. Whereas another reporter, may not be into puppies or whatever it is. So just kind of keep that in mind. The best way to contact is email and DMs. All the reporters I know are not great on the telephone. We just don't have a whole lot of time to talk on the telephone. That's the best way. So many times as an anchor and reporter, I'll pitch something and it won't get covered. And it breaks my heart because I feel bad and I really want that story to get covered, but you do all you can, but it is a group decision. But if you are already telling your own story as a small business owner through social media, then we can see if the community already cares about what you're doing. So for example, if you post, let's see, what was it the other day? I met Andrea, right? Andrea from Keller Realty. Yeah, you guys, Angela. Okay, Angela from, who's a realtor in town. They just did an amazing thing where they raised hygiene items and different things for all of the community care closets that stood out in my mind. I thought, what a great story. And if Angela puts it up on her real estate page with all the pictures of all the things that they raised, that's something that a local news station can pull off of, go ahead and run it in the news or put a web story together and then call her up and say, hey, are you willing to do an interview real quick about this drive that you did that helped local kids? And then maybe we can talk to somebody at the school district. And that is just free publicity for her business. And it's not bragging. It's not saying, hey, look at this good thing that I did. We want to show some positive things in the community, because if you go back to the beginning of what I was talking about, we are a part of the community. So we don't want to just show negative things all the time. Showing the good things is good for everybody as well. So make sure you have a social media presence. That's one of the best ways to get coverage from us. And I love it too, when maybe some of your customers will tag the news because you've done something that they think is so cool, and they tag us, and then we see it, and then we go, oh, wow, look at what this local business is doing. We should go out and cover it. They've already gotten hundreds of shares or hundreds of likes. Sounds pretty cool. The best example of this, hands down, and everybody pretty much knows who he is Mattress Mac at Gallery Furniture in Houston. He gets a ton of free press, and it's usually because he's always caught doing something good for his customers in the community, has a great relationship with the local media. For example, in the past, I believe it was Hurricane Harvey, they allowed people to stay inside their store. Those are the type of stories that local media will show up for. And I'm sure that your business is already doing amazing things in the community because you're all amazing people. So it's just kind of to show you the difference of, if you're telling your own story, that makes it even easier for us to find out what you're doing, where you don't even have to reach out. At that point, we're coming to you and asking you if you will go on air for a story or do something like that. Okay, the third thing I wanted to talk about this afternoon is bad press, or just, I don't want to be on TV. I'm not into it. Like, I just don't want to do any of that. If you don't want to be on TV, or you feel like just the cameras and the microphones and what am I going to say, and all of that makes you very nervous, just take a deep breath. It's okay. I've interviewed a lot of people who don't want to go on TV, but when they see the final product, they're happy that they did. They're happy that they shared whatever story it was. But at that point, I already mentioned, maybe rely on some employees who are not camera shy. Maybe rely on some great customers who could speak on your behalf. You know, folks who can also tell your story if you truly do not feel comfortable speaking. But I will tell you, public speaking is scarier than speaking in front of just one camera. I promise you. There are so many television news reporters and anchors that this situation right here would make them far more nervous than going on the news every night, because really all you see is just the camera. Okay, but let's talk about the other scenario. And I think I wanted to bring this up just to kind of give you some tools in your pocket if it ever does happen to you, or if you have business associates that this happens to. And that's the other scenario of a negative story is done about your business that you've spent your life building. And then one story goes out there, or claims are being made, and now you or your business have been given a bad name. And one bad story can impact a business. That's why it's important for reporters to make sure they're being accurate. I'm not in crisis communication management, but I've seen enough businesses where they may be put in the hot seat. Maybe a customer is making a claim, which if they do that on the news, it's like a bad Yelp review on steroids. Someone's saying that something happened, maybe that it didn't, that sort of thing. The best thing that I've seen business owners do in that situation is being transparent and honest, not burying your head in the ground, making sure you're available to answer any questions that local media may have. Ignoring it and dodging it is usually not a good way to go. However, if you're dealing with a reporter that has reported inaccurately, always ask for the news director. let them know that this was not accurate. It needs to be changed. There may need to be a retraction. As a business owner, there definitely are things that you can do if something has been reported inaccurately, because we live here and we want to make sure we're doing fair stories. What's really important, though, the difference between journalists and then people that maybe are on social media that don't have to follow the rules of journalism. If a customer comes to us and says, this business did this and they need to be held accountable, what we do right away is call up your business and ask for your side of the story. And we have over and over at KCEN had instances like that where someone will make a claim against a business and they want us to put it on the news. But we have to do our due diligence. And once we talk to the business owner, we say, that doesn't sound like a story we're going to run. So there are times where we've invested our entire day, maybe even multiple days into a story, and we decided not to run it because we feel like it's not fair or accurate or what have you. So that's always on your side. That's why it's important not to dodge questions. If there is a news reporter that knocks on your door for something that someone is claiming. Finally, you all are the fabric of our communities. I can't say that enough. Thank you for all of the hard work that you all have put into your individual businesses and into your communities. You're part of the lives of each and every one of the customers that come to you. I know a lot of people that run businesses feel like it's more like a family. I want to show you a story, a recent story about a Temple business that had something very negative happen to them. But they received coverage on the local news. And I did have to convince the business owners to do the story. They didn't come to us with this. I found them. And they were very happy with the way it turned out. But let's go ahead and play this story about the Extreme Cheer Gym in Temple.
When a Temple cheer and tumble gym took a direct hit from the May tornado.
It left the gym completely destroyed. There were kids inside when that storm struck, but there were heroes too. I met them at a nearby gym to hear their story. The road to Olympic glory starts here.
She absolutely loves it. It is her home away from home.
A gym, a mat, and a dream.
Minutes matter. Minutes matter.
But mom, JC Villarreal, isn't talking about the time her daughter Lillian practices every pass. These minutes were between life and death.
It definitely reminds you that life is short. Minutes matter. They were minutes away from being severely injured or killed in that tornado.
Take me through the day on May 22nd and the sequence of events and what ended up happening.
Okay. Can I have a minute?
Zenobia Oliveras is the office manager at Extreme Cheer in Temple.
So it was a regular day. We knew there were storms coming, so we were, already prepared.
Just a week before, the staff went over the severe weather policies and procedures.
So we just kind of were going through the day like normal. Didn't have our after-school program there at that time. We did still have staff there. We had cheer practices going on, regular rec classes going on.
It was a normal day for the Villarreals, too.
I had dropped her off at cheer practice that day. We lived 5 minutes from the gym. I ran home to get some things done and take care of our 3 boys.
We started getting the notifications on our phone. Exactly the same time the notifications started coming across about tornado warning, the sirens were going off.
30 children and about 10 parents were inside, including Lillian and fellow cheerleader Madeline Pena.
Miss Zenobia came in and she said to get into the hallway because the sirens went off.
Everyone moved to the safest spot in the gym.
Calmly. Obviously, no one's frantic at that point. Weather is still okay. There's nothing going on outside at that time. And so we're just getting them in place and talking to them, just keeping everybody calm.
Then everything changed.
Second tornado siren went off and I called my husband and I said, I'm going to get her.
When everything started hitting, electricity went out right away.
We all got scared and started screaming. And then the coaches said to get down on your hands and knees and cover your neck. And and then the water started coming through from in the cheer gym.
You know, I could hear my after-school staff talking to the kids there, saying, it's okay, it's okay.
And I thought the last minute of our life would die, but luckily our coaches were there and none of us died.
The gym took a direct hit. Both Zenobia and JC saw the tornado rip the building apart. JC from her car, Zenobia from inside.
You could hear the noise. You just kind of feel like, oh, there's a lot going on outside at that point. However, I could see the cheer window. And at that point, I did see the building kind of be blown away. It just got whisked away. And I saw that. At that point, honestly, I was just praying. Honestly, I was just like, just take this away, keep us safe and take us away.
Their winds turned sideways. I could see roofs flying in front of me. I could see trees. There was a black wall. And at that point, I saw the tornado hit the cheer gym that I knew that she was in. And I had to stop because I couldn't drive into it. So I sat. It felt like a long time, but I think it probably was just a couple of seconds and thought, do I go back to the boys or do I go find her? I text my husband, I love you. And I drove into the tornado. It was pushing the car sideways. The hail was like baseball size. I got to the parking lot and the parking lot looked like a war zone. Debris sticking out of everybody's cars. All the windows are blown out. I saw her coach crack the door and look at me. So I knew somebody made it out of the gym. I didn't know who, but I couldn't stay there anymore. The wind was too strong. It was blowing me over. So I had to go sit in the car.
She sat through the hail, not knowing if her daughter was alive. With cell service down, she didn't receive the message that everybody was safe.
It was just a lot of sit and wait and wonder. I couldn't get to her. I didn't know if she was hurt. Thank God her coaches, they are our heroes. They got them out. They kept them safe.
God definitely had us where we needed to be to keep safe. And no one was injured. No one was hurt.
I think they're heroes. They're absolute heroes.
The gym
I opened Extreme in 2001.
Was owner Bridget Preddy's dream.
I loved teaching. I got into gymnastics and I would trade out classes for helping coach at a very young age at 15. And I just developed a love for it.
In 2014, her husband Dave built their dream gym on West Adams.
Dave and I both, we are givers. We like to see people exceed. We want to help people. My idea of success and receiving is to make others shine.
They were visiting a sick relative when the tornado hit.
I never expected it to hit the gym. And so I give myself a little time to think about it and to empathize just what actually went on inside that gym that day. But I do it in small phases because it's my life work. So it's still very difficult.
But there is a silver lining among the twisted metal and debris. The owner of a nearby gym, Pivot, reached out so Extremes athletes can continue classes during the rebuild.
There's so much positive that can come out of a negative, and we've seen that already with the community coming together and knowing that failure is not an option. We're going to build back, and we'll build back better.
I think this will be a life lesson that we talk about for a long time. And to talk about the resilience and how we didn't give up and how we stuck together.
Within 24 hours of the storm, something much stronger formed, a bond that cannot be broken.
It's like everyone came together in moments that I was overwhelmed.
That's not the end of the story, but that's okay.
Well, tough as a cheerleader took on a whole new meaning when a Temple cheer and tumble gym took a direct hit from the May tornado.
It left the gym completely destroyed.
I won't try to compete.
There were
talking over myself.
because myself will win. That's a great example. And I hope you're moved by that story of a local business who went through something terrible. They did not pitch that story to us. I found that story on a GoFundMe that the daughter of the owners of the business had posted. And they were very uncomfortable with wanting to go on air. But I'm so glad that they did. And I'm so glad that they put us in touch with people that could truly tell the story of the heroes in that building, because they saved the lives of the children and the people that were there that day. And we have a great follow-up because that gym is having its grand opening this Saturday. They've rebuilt. They're going to be able to continue operating, and they personally invited me to come out and cover it and just enjoy it. And that's really what local news is all about. We really want to tell the stories in our community that make an impact. And I know every single one of your businesses has a story. If you've ever pitched to the local news and it didn't work out, stay the course. Find another reporter that may want to tell your story, because it can be beneficial to all of you. And use me as a resource anytime. I'm easy to find at KCEN-TV.com. We also air as KAGS in this area, Bryan College Station as well. So thank you so much. If there's any time, I'm willing to answer questions, but we may be out of time, huh? Out of time. I talked too much. Who would have thunk it? Thank you guys so much.
Lindsay, thank you very much.